Good day, Scenic Runners. Today is December 21st, 2021, and we are in Del Mar, California, just above San Diego. We'll be running between the Torrey Pines State Beach, which was the beach we're on right now, up to Del Mar Dog Beach. Basically, it's a long stretch of beach until you hit two little waterways, or jetties, maybe is the appropriate term. So, out and back, it's going to be about a 5.5 mile run, I believe. I have a couple weeks off over the holiday. The city I work for, we take a furlough, so it's pretty nice to have this time off to rest, relax, rejuvenate a bit from the year, and get ready for the holidays, and just be ready for 2022. Really enjoying this time off, just taking it easy and doing more like life administrative kind of stuff, taking care of things that have been left on the back burner for a long time. This might be the last scenic run of 2021. Not sure. Maybe I'll squeeze another one in. Overall, I started this channel just over a year ago, and I think this will be about my 53rd video or run I posted. So that was cool to hit that 50 the 50th run or post. Don't know if I'll keep that trajectory up, posting quite as many, but I'd like to be able to post like 2 a month. That should be a doable, achievable goal for me. So on the way back, I think we'll try and run up on that bluff. But as far as I can tell with the maps, the aerial maps, that's where the Amtrak goes on. And you see all this construction because there's been a bunch of landslides. They're just not stable cliff sides. So Amtrak constantly has to have some retrofitting done. But man, what a beautiful view if you're taking the Amtrak from San Diego to like LA or points north. Similarly, if you take like the Amtrak in Washington State up to like Seattle from, let's see, Portland, dang, you've got some epic views if you're on the west facing side, basically looking out to the Pacific. You just see amazing views of the Puget Sound. I kind of just wonder, you know, way back when they were laying tracks and giving, you know, the land use rights out, what kind of deal they struck for that, because that's such pristine property. I think a lot of times these tracks are shared with freight trains as well. I don't know too much about that. Anyway, what else? About a week ago, December, December 11th, Saturday, 10 days ago, there was the La Jolla Half Marathon. This year, well, typically it's in May, but again, with COVID, they postponed it, which was nice instead of canceling it like they did last year without offering any refunds or what's the word? No refunds and no deferred registration. So you basically just lost your $100 and some odd race entry, which is BS. But anyway, I re-registered because I just like doing different races. Haven't done this one. They held it in December this year. Freaking cold. Well, Southern California cold. It was like on around 50 degrees that morning. Started at 6:45 a.m. I ended up doing okay. No personal record or anything. I think for me, anything under 135 would be my personal best. I finished just under an hour 45. But yeah, there's the Amtrak. I don't know if you can see it from afar. The coaster is what it's called. Anyway, I did it in an hour 45. It was pretty good. It wasn't as hard as America's Finest City that I did back in August. That one just mentally took it out of me. I think for two main reasons. One, that was like my first real competitive run since COVID. And I trained for it. But in the end, my ultimate goal is, like, you know, always best yourself if you can. And at mile marker 12, that's where I lost all motivation, because the pacer for an hour and 40 minutes passed me. So I knew at that point I wasn't gonna beat my race time. So I kind of just would start and stop. I'd walk on and off that last mile. Eventually, I think I finished around 1:43. 1 hour and 43 minutes. So this time I performed worse, but mentally I was more prepared for it. I didn't train as hard. I knew I wasn't gonna beat my record, so I just ran, thinking your main goal is to finish without walking, and I achieved that. And overall it wasn't too bad. I also plugged in an audiobook, listened to the newest Craig Johnston Longmire book, Daughter of the Morning Star. It's like its 15th or 16th book in this series. I really like them. They're fun. It's kind of like a Western CSI story. And you could watch them on Netflix too. Anyway, I was happy with it. So yeah, typically I don't run with anything in my ears. I just try and do it on my own. But listening to the story helped drown it out. And overall, it still was pretty hard. I mean, it took place in this area. You start a little further north, basically where we turn around. That's right next to the Mar Thoroughbred Club, the horse track. You start from there, meander through the town of Del Mar, and come back. Keep heading south, or sorry, not back, but keep heading south. You run through Torrey Pines, which is a pretty big climb for a short amount of distance, so that's kind of brutal. And then you just keep continuing south until you get through La Jolla to the cove. So it's very nice, very scenic. Thought about recording it, but didn't feel like carrying this camera for, 13 miles. Now, come to think of it, I have run this area before in a former race. 2 years ago, about this time, they did the Red Nose Run. I should have looked it up. Maybe I could have done it again, but that I did. This is gonna get sad, but I did that with my dog Desi. And I say sad because Desi was just put down last week. But yeah, maybe it was actually 3 years ago, because he's been blind for over 2 years. But anyway, you started and stopped the race here, and then he ran the opposite way of the way we're running. And yeah, that dog, he had stamina. We ran the whole thing and took first. It was awesome. Got a few goodie bag items. Miss that guy a lot. But yeah, I'll expand on Desi. Desi, he was my, like a mix Labrador, Basset Hound, and some type of terrier, maybe like Airedale. Scruffy little guy, very stout. In his prime, he was about like 38 pounds. But over the last year, he's just not had as much of an appetite. And he, at the end, he was down to like 28 pounds. He had a hard life, and he tried to make it as good for him as possible. Like, by age 2, he developed symmetrical leukoid oncodystrophy, which is lupus that attacks your nail beds and made his nails very frail and prone to breaking. So even walking around, not even really exerting himself, he could break them. So we had to do a good job staying on top of keeping his nails short and just alleviating any extra reasons for them to easily break. Had to take him to a dermatologist for years to figure out a regimen of medicine that worked for him. Unfortunately, there's no cure for it, but there is treatment. And in the end, what worked for him was minocycline, niacinamide, and like omega-3 and 6s, fatty acid pills. And he took those for the remainder of his life, in the morning and at night. So he got really used to having pills shoved down his throat because he wouldn't take them willingly, despite disguising them in like pill pockets or our own homemade pill pockets or bread or cheese or whatever. You know, it wasn't like a treat that we were giving him. So regardless, the pills were good for him. He still broke nails every once in a while, but it didn't really hinder him. I could go hiking as many times as I could with him. I'd run with him almost daily, like 4 or 5 times a week, along with my other dog. And he'd do really good. We'd do races. Great dog. But then shortly after moving to San Diego, about like a year and a half afterwards, he went blind. He developed something similar to SARDS, which is sudden acquired retinal dystrophy, I think. So, and there's another similar retinal degeneration disease in dogs, but the optometrist or ophthalmologist said it didn't really look like either of them, but you know, very symptomatic of the two. But either way, his retinas didn't detach, they just degenerated. And so I think at best he might have had like 5% vision in one eye. And just based off my observation, you know, he probably just saw light in the morning and nothing in the darkness, no figures or anything like that. But either way, I got to run with him for a good solid 5 years. He probably stopped running around age 6. I remember the last hike I took him on was out here in Poway at Potato Chip Rock. He was losing on his sight, so it was like one last hurrah and one last test. He hiked up almost all the way. It's a 4-mile hike in, and then we basically got well, like 3.75 miles, and then he just decided he can't do it anymore. It was already hard for him. We took multiple breaks, and we're like, okay, let's turn around, head south. And then when we did that, he couldn't even take a step because he just couldn't tell when you're going downhill, is that next step, is that a major drop, or is that just like an inch down? So it was really hard for him. So I ended up carrying him down almost 4 miles. Got a lot of looks that day, a lot of sympathy from the people coming uphill. And a lot of people, well, a few people making comments like, you should carry him like a dead deer over your back. Like, dude, hell no. Anyway, and my last race with him was 5K here out at Roadrunner Sports, like the Halloween mutt run. I think we might have placed third, and he was probably like 50% blind at that point. He still had some vision, but he had a hard time doing it. He wasn't leading me at that point anymore, but we still did pretty good. All right, so where we're at is the dog beach. Not as many on this side, but on the other side of the jetty, that's North Beach. That's where you get a lot more dogs. And neither of those were the things that did him in. At the end, he developed lymphoma, and he had a few masses in his internals. And that's what eventually got him. So, yeah, really sad. He wasn't even 9 years old. He was about 8 years, 9 months. Sweetest dog you'd ever meet. Really unfortunate life he had, and I'm still trying to process it and understand how such a sweet life, could be dealt such a bad hand. It's just really unfair. I found myself pretty angry about it and upset. So that's Del Mar Horse Track over there. But yeah, it's just unfair, and I know life isn't fair, but shoot, this is just almost cruel. Anyways, yeah, he had multiple diagnoses. Like a year ago, we had an ultrasound done, and they said he looked good. Just maybe it's part of getting older. His diet needed to change maybe, but he always ate pretty good anyway. And then my ex-wife got some more ultrasounds done this year in November. Saw that he had masses, head, basically gave some, not necessarily treatment, but just some meds to keep it at bay for a little longer. We were told she was told even if there was operation done and it was successful, it'd only extend his life maybe like 2 months. So, and at the time they said, he might have 2 weeks left. He basically lasted twice as long, went on for a month until the decision was made to put him down. Anyway, really having a hard time with it and accepting that he's gone. But I'm trying. Sorry for the sob story, but I also see these runs and recordings as a way for me to reflect possibly back on later in life, to see where I was in life, what events are around. So just kind of like a running journal or diary, so to speak. We came to this area many a times with Desi and Beasley. But yeah, that run we did out here that we placed first in, it was cool. We got first place, like I said, a t-shirt to Viewpoint Brewing, which had a couple of pint glasses, Starbucks gift card, Starbucks mug, gift basket of a few smaller things. And then at that same race, I entered to win in a raffle for that a local radio station was at, and my name got called, and I got tickets to see 311. Or was it 311? No, it was Sublime. Yeah. Sublime's okay. Not a big fan. Figured I'd rather just have the money, especially around the holidays. So I sold those on Craigslist. Got $100 for them. So that was cool. Man, beautiful day for a run. I think it's about like 60 degrees-ish. Very light wind. It's pretty perfect. All right, we're at 3.5 miles. About 2 more to go, so let's keep this up. Holidays are just around the corner. Looking forward to it. Unfortunately, my sister just moved away from. She lived out here in Oceanside. Now she's moved away to the dairy land of Minnesota. Don't you know? It's where her fiance is from. His whole family's out there. He's deployed right now, but when he gets back in like January or February, he'll be getting out. And then they weren't really anticipating moving to Wisconsin this early, but their landlord sold the condo that they were living in, and so they had to get out. And they have 3 dogs, so trying to find a rental for, maybe half a year was just a little too much effort. especially while they're trying to plan a wedding. So instead of going through all that effort, why not just plan on buying a house? You know, more work's involved, but you know, it's worth it in the end. You're gonna exert yourself, just do it a little more and get something that's permanent. Apparently out there in the Dairyland, it's also hard as heck. I think it's just a crazy housing market everywhere. But they eventually found a spot. He's still deployed. She moved out there already. Family helped come move her across. Well, halfway across the country. And now she's starting her new beginnings out there. Hopefully she enjoys it, and the close proximity to his family brings them all closer together. But yeah, I miss her. Crappy part was like my mom just relocated from Riverside down to Oceanside, and she was only, you know, 10 to 15 minutes away from my sister, and they only had about a month in that where they live close by. But you know, life goes on. Good thing is my mom and I aren't as far away now from each other. And yeah, hopefully I'll get to spend some time with my mom over the holidays. Maybe have a little, I don't know, getaway. Get out of town for a couple days. You got some paragliders up there. So this reminds me of Carpinteria, another recorded run I did this year. Similar in regards to running alongside the Amtrak lines by the cliffside. Check it out. I'll provide a link to it at the end. See, some of these properties, great views, but I imagine here in the train at all hours of the night, that might suck. Well, here comes a train. Cool. little Italian Greyhound or Whippet, something like that. Cute dog. Okay, 5 miles. Good job. I don't know. Should be about a mile left or half mile left. Stick with it. Finish strong. In fact, let's push it for the next 30 seconds. And 3, 2, 1, pick it up. All right, good job. Oh, this is really pretty. Yeah, so if we get away, maybe do a trip up to Portland. It's been a couple of years since I've been up there. Or maybe just go up to LA and get a hike in that I've been wanting to do called the Bridge to Nowhere. It's like a bridge built back in the 60s, I think, out past Azusa. I think funding for it, for the road, ended, and they already built the bridge, so there's really nowhere it leads to, and its only use right now is for like photography, and a company offers bungee jumping out there. I don't think I'll be doing that, but just fun. It's like a 10-mile hike to go out and do. Maybe visit some friends and family while we're up there. So yeah, these bluffs keep deteriorating, and Amtrak at one point, like, they had to have monitors out here 24/7 just to keep an eye on the landslides and the erosion. There's been talk about moving the tracks inland, but I don't really even know how that would work. That'd be such a huge undertaking. But they're spending millions and millions to keep up these tracks. Here goes the train in the other direction. You could hear it. There it goes, the coaster again. All right, let's do another 30 seconds. And 3, 2, 1, pick it up. So yeah, that big hill up there, that's Torrey Pines. That you had to run up. Pretty arduous. But a good workout. And if you want to see a run inside that natural area, I did a run and on Thanksgiving of 2020. I'll post a link to that at the end too. You can enjoy that one. Anyway, this was Torrey Pines State Beach to Del Mar Dog Beach and back. 6 miles, 49 minutes. Thank you for joining me. December 21st, 2021. Till next time, you know what to do. Keep those feet moving.